Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Mobile App Academy, where we show you how to build and configure mobile apps live on the Now platform. My name is Charlie Steiner, product marketer here at ServiceNow, and today we'll be actually walking you through setting up and configuring and personalizing push notifications on mobile. So if you're joining us for the first time, welcome. To give you a little bit of background, Mobile App Academy is a live building series that focuses on managing and building out mobile apps in real time. We have product experts on hand to provide guidance, best practices, and answer any of your questions in the chat. We host these sessions every 2 weeks here on Zoom at 10 a.m. Pacific, and you can find our recordings in our YouTube playlist that will be linked in the chat shortly. And the recording for this session and other sessions will go up Thursday mornings Pacific time, so do be on the lookout for that. And as always, before we get started, I just want to point out a few great resources that are available on our community site. And if you're new to mobile, we definitely recommend you check out the numerous amount of self-enablement resources we have, like guidebooks and white papers that will be updated for Roam shortly on the community. We also have a plethora of other resources like labs and mobile trainings on Now Learning, and the link to our YouTube playlist with our previous Mobile App Academy sessions will be there as well. And in that playlist, you can find great sessions like deploying Now Mobile, getting started with mobile card builder and user experience analytics, how to build a consolidated employee self-service experience, and our most recent session, which was a few weeks ago, on curating your search experience on mobile with AI search and more. So do be sure to check out those previous recordings when you get a chance. And one more additional thing to note is if you like this Academy session and you like the style of this session, our sister teams across ServiceNow also have very similar sessions for their product areas. So if you're into virtual agent or HR or performance analytics and reporting, as well as platform foundation, all of these teams run similar sessions and they do great work. So do be sure to check them out and let them know that you came from us. And the way to find them is by navigating to the forums tab and going to the respective forums, and there should be a link on their homepage to their academy. And a quick note, the Platform Foundation Academy is under the developer tab, so do be sure to navigate there. With all that out of the way, David Haw, as always, take us away.
Thanks for the intro, Charlie. Hello and welcome back to another Mobile App Academy. My name is David Haw and I'll be your host for today. And I also have Thuho with me, who's a solution architect on the mobile team here at ServiceNow as well. And we want to give a warm welcome to everyone joining us live. So for today's topic, we're going to show you how to configure a mobile push notification from scratch. We've done a mobile push notification academy last year, but it's a bit outdated. So we want to use this opportunity to kind of walk you through this again, share some tips and tricks along the way, how to troubleshoot, maybe some things that you weren't aware of before. These are just some of the most recent posts on mobile community asking about mobile push notifications. So it seems there's a lot of folks that are struggling with this. So hopefully this academy will address all those questions and concerns. And we also had some survey results sharing that, you guys wanted us to cover mobile push notifications. So that's the reason why we're covering this topic today. So for today's schedule, this will be about a 30-minute session. We'll start off with a quick 5-minute overview. I want to make sure that we're all aligned on what a standard push notification is and what you can do there. And then we'll jump into the exercises for today. We'll deep dive on how you can customize certain elements of your push message content, such as the fields that gets displayed on the notification itself. And then we'll open up to some Q&A afterwards. Okay. And then for the folks who are still new to Now Mobile, I recommend that you check out our introduction sessions on how to get started with your Now Mobile implementations. If you're still learning how to configure things like my to-dos, approvals, changing fields, adding quick actions, all that has already been covered in our past Mobile App Academy sessions. And you can find those links in the chat as well as our mobile community site, as Charlie has mentioned. But with all that said, let's dive into the overview. So mobile push notifications. Just to make sure we're on the same page, this is a standard push notification that admin can configure to appear in any ServiceNow client, which can be mobile agent or Now Mobile. And you can use this to deep link users to a specific screen, such as a list or a form. And for every mobile push notification, there's essentially 4 steps to configure one. First, you need to create a push message content, and that determines how the notification card will display within your app, right? So this entire card right here on your notification screen. Second is you have to create the push notification message which is the message itself. The message on the screenshot is just called test1, but this is what the push message is. Third is you need to create the push notification event, and that's going to help determine what gets sent, when it gets sent, and who it gets sent to, right? And then lastly, you just have to register the push to make sure that it shows up to your user's app. And then we'll show you how to check for that as well. Some things that I want to call out. First, this session will not be covering actionable push notifications. Actionable push notifications is a feature that came in Paris that allowed end users to execute actions from their device's notification screen without even having to jump into that, right? So you're able to do things like accept or reject an approval with a single tap on your device's notification screen. Although we're not covering it today, if it is something you want us to cover, please let us know in the post-session survey, and then we'll definitely cover it in a future session if there's some demand for it. Another thing that I saw on community that I like to call out is push notifications support deep links to screens only. I think I saw a question, can you deep link to applet launchers? And that capability is not supported today. For deep linking, it needs to know the sys ID of the record that you would like to deep link to, and those records can only be screens, okay? And I'll show you what I mean by that during our exercise. One other tip or trick that you might not be aware of is you can actually apply styling conditions to your notification cards. So if there's any fields that you want to pop up or highlight that's important to that end user, you can do so with UI styles, okay? So with all that said, let's jump into the labs. So to kick off today, we'll start by building a push notification from scratch for our Now mobile app. As a logged in employee, I have a bunch of requests. Let me pull up my mobile screen so you can follow along. Okay. So for the use case today, I'm logged in as an employee, right? I have a bunch of requests in my Now mobile app. You can see all the requests that I have opened as my logged in user. I have whether it's an incident or a case or something else. But as an employee, I want to stay up to date on all the latest activities that's happening in some of these records. And we'll use the incident as the example for today. So when an agent is working on the incident that I opened up and makes any sort of changes, such as adding a comment, I want to be able to see notifications on that activity. So I'm up to date, okay? So we're going to build a push notification that gets triggered to my logged in user anytime activity takes place on my open incident, okay? So if an agent were to go into this incident and they were to work on this and put notes into it, my logged in employee should be able to see those updates, okay? The second part to this is I want to also configure the fields on my notification card. I'll show you what's configurable on this card and what is not. And then the last part of this is I'll also show you how to apply UI styles to it. Okay, so to get started, we're going to jump into our instance, and then we're going to build out our push notification. So I want to point you guys to the product docs. Something that to call out that you might not be aware of is we actually made updates to mobile push notification docs on our Roam release. So it's actually a bit more intuitive. It's easier to follow along. And we've added some things that that might be new to you. If you look at Quebec or earlier, they haven't quite been updated yet, but just know that these mobile push notifications will work for instances on Paris and beyond. Okay, so check out Roam product docs. On our Roam product docs, you have this push notification page, and this will tell you these to build one. There's 3 configurable components. You first have to create the push message content, and then the push message itself, and then create the push notification event. And so we're just going to follow along with these steps. So we're going to start by creating the push message content. Push message content. And again, the push message content is the layout of the card itself, right? So let's go into our instance and we're going to look up push. Under push, we're going to go down to system notifications, and then there should be a thing called push message content. Let's open that up. And we're going to create a new record here. And then we'll go ahead and name this. Again, we want notifications based on open instance. So we'll call this open incident notification. And then the push app is just the client. where is this triggering off? Is it going to be on the ServiceNow agent client or the Now mobile client? And we're logged into the Now mobile client, so we're going to pick ServiceNow request application. So that's something to note. The two possible push apps are mobile application, which is your ServiceNow agent client, and then request application, which is for the Now mobile app. Just remember, requester is for the Now mobile, and then if it doesn't say requester, then it's for agent. And then we're going to need to pull in the push message generation JSON. And we provide you a template to use in our product docs. So I'm just going to copy and paste this right here. And we're going to use this as our template for our push. So I'm going to copy and paste the JSON. And essentially what this is going to pull is, this is going to show you your priority, the state, and then the short description of this instant table. And those are the fields that's going to pop up on your layout. Okay, so let's go and click submit for now, just to save the record. And I want to pull up this record again because there's one thing that I haven't done yet. So I think I call this open instant. And what's important here is if you want your push notification to deep link your users to a specific screen, whether it's a list or a form, you need to be able to put the sys ID of that record right here. So this was just the template sys ID, so I need to go and retrieve it. But essentially, when the push notification shows up on my mobile app, I want them to take me directly into the record, and I want to see the details of this record, right? So I'm going to take the sys ID of the my request form, and then I'm going to put in my push. So let's go ahead and go into our applets. I'm going to open up a new tab. And I'm going to look up applets. This applet is called my request. My request has both a list and form, but we want to take them to the form. So let's look up my request. And there's a bunch of list and form screens, but notice that there's a different form for depending on what the record is, the record type is. There's a form for incident. There's also a different form for case. And then there's another one for rhythms. What we want is the form for incidents, right? We want that to pop up. So we're going to open up this form screen here. And then we're just going to copy the sys ID of this. Okay. We'll go back into our push notification message content, and then we're going to paste this sys ID here. So now this should take me to the right screen that I want. Okay. The other thing that I want to check is there's this thing called mobile deep link generator, and it's going to ask you what client this screen is going to open up in. And if you look at our product docs, it should say this template is opening up the now mobile client. But if you want agent to open up, you would just replace this with agent. Okay. But I already have what I want. It's opening up the now mobile app, and it's going to take me to the my request form screen. So these are good. And then I'm going to go and save and update, and this should be good. Okay. And I'll show you how to configure some of these fields, but we'll come back to it. Let's make sure that our push works first. So we've just completed the first part of our push notification. If I go back to the steps, right? So we created the push message content, which is basically the card layout of the notification itself. Next is we want to configure the push message. What is the message that's going to display here? Instead of test one, what do you want that message to be when it pops up on your user screen? So we'll go back into our instance, and we're going to look up push, and we're going to create the push message. Okay. And then let's go ahead and create a new record. And let's name this very similar. Let's call it open incident notification message. And again, the push app is going to be the client, which is ServiceNow request application. And then the table is going to pull from the incident table. And then this is going to ask you for the push message content, which we just created, right? And we call that open incident notification. So within this container, what is the message that's going to display for this spot right here? And let's call it, your incident has been updated. Okay. And if I want to make this more dynamic, actually, you can actually, add this bracket and $sign, and this will actually show you exactly which incident number has been updated. Okay. So when the notification pops up, it'll say your incident has been updated, incident 7002 or something. So let's go ahead and submit this. And that completes our second step. So let's go back to our product docs. The third step of this is we have to create the notification event itself. Okay. This will determine when the message is sent and then who will receive it. So let's go back to our instance and we're going to look up push again. And if you see push notifications under system mobile, ignore this because this is specifically for actionable push notifications. What we want is actually the non-actionable ones. So we're going to create this under system notification. Okay, so that's a nuance that you should be aware of. We want to go to this push notification event table and then create a new one. And you'll know you'll have the right table because it's going to ask you when to send, who will receive, and what it'll contain. Okay, so this is the event trigger itself. So let's call this open incident notification event. This is going to pull from the incident table. You can put a category you want, but I'll ignore that. You can also add a description. But we'll scroll down to when to send. And we want this to send anytime that the record is updated, right? So we'll also select this updated trigger. And then the condition is any incident where the opened by is opened by the user. So it's, it could be any open incident. Okay, so that now determines the conditions for when this notification will be triggered. Now, who will receive it? So this will allow you to control who this notification gets sent to, whether it's groups of users, specific users, or however you want to configure it. I'm just going to assign it to me, my logged in user. Okay. And then for the what it will contain, the most important part of this is we configure the push message, right? So we need to associate the push message that we created earlier, which we called open incident notification message. And then this will pull up that mobile notification message. Okay. All this other stuff is not important to me because this is more for email push notifications. But know that this controls for both desktop notifications as well as mobile notifications. But this knows it's mobile because we attached the push message here. Okay. So now I think I should be able to click submit. I should have completed all the records that I needed or the fields that I needed. Yeah. Okay. So now let's go and submit this. So now that completes our notification event. Now, the only other thing we have to do here is we now have to register this push event that we just created to our device. And to do that, we're going to look up push application. All right, this is the last step. Under push applications, this is going to show you all the different clients that you have access to on your instance. There's some MAM splashes of your clients if that's something your instance has access to. You also have branded clients too, right? If mobile publishing is something that you're entitled to use. But we just want the generic Now mobile app. And the generic Now mobile app is called the ServiceNow request application. Okay. If you want the generic agent app, it's going to be called the ServiceNow mobile application. For Now mobile, it's request. So we're going to open this right here. And this tab called push default registrations, this might not automatically be turned on for you by default. So you'll actually have to go to configure related lists. And then you're going to pull over this thing called push default registrations to push application. Okay. That's the tab that you want. So let's go back. I already have the tab enabled. So I'm going to create a new record. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull in that push notification event. And then I'm going to register it to the client, which is this client here. So we'll click new. And we called this open incident notification event, and then we'll click submit. All right. So now this notification that we just built from scratch is now registered to this client. Okay. So that pretty much completes all of the steps to create your notification from scratch. Now, a few troubleshooting techniques, but let's make sure that this push works first. What I'm going to do is I'm going to open up an incident on my desktop. And I'm going to look up an incident that has been opened by me. So I'll go to my request. There is an incident called 7001. Okay, so let's look up 7001. We'll open this up. And we're going to add a work note here. Let's say the agent was working on this incident. They are in the middle of completing it, and so they added a work note. And so that should trigger this notification to my logged in employee. Okay. If I add a work note right now, you'll actually find that this notification isn't working yet. This device and user won't receive any notifications yet. And the reason for that is you actually need to log out and then log back in for this specific user to register to that notification. So I'm going to show you a table that will be helpful. It's called sys push notification app install. Okay, sys push notif app install. If I go to this table, I'm going to pause here for a couple seconds so that during the recording you can pull up this table again. I'm going to open up this table, push notification installs, and if I look at last registered, I need to make sure that this food. Do you want to go ahead and explain what this table is and what you should expect from it?
Yeah, so this table is actually pretty cool. So basically, whenever your client logs into a mobile client logs into your instance, the first thing it does is tries to register your mobile device, right? And so you see that thing called token. And so that token, ServiceNow generates a unique push token that is associated with the user's device. So each user device has a thing called UUID, and that token is associated with that. So that it means that it knows which when it's pushing to the user, it's pushing to that device. So if you're curious and say, oh, how many people are actually using my request app or my now app, here's a table that shows you. As you can see, if you look at the first two rows, you see system administrator, that's David, and he's logged in using the requester app on an Apple device, okay? And then the second one, you see that he also logged in using the Now app on an Apple device. And then you can see, Luke and everyone else. So this is a table you can see who has logged in, and you can like filter whatever you want. But this is a table that registered the device.
So this was a token that I've generated while I was testing before this academy. But if I log out and log back in, I should expect to see a new user, right? So we'll go and log back into our instance as our user. I'll type in my credentials. Okay, so now if I refresh, this, you should now see a new record here. Uh, 1027, so that's perfect. So the logged in user, it was an Apple device, right? It's for the Now mobile app, and it's for my user. So I know that I have successfully registered my user for this notification. Okay, So basically, it's just anytime you configure a new notification, your users do have to log out and log back in for that notification to register. And a way to troubleshoot is you can check this table. Okay, so now that I've double checked everything, other things that I should probably check is notifications. If I go into settings, I have to make sure that my notification preferences is enabled, right? Otherwise that logged in user won't get it. The other thing to check is to go to settings on the device itself, whether it's for your Apple device, Android device, or so forth. Go to your notifications and actually make sure that your app notifications are on, right? So when you install the app for the first time, sometimes the user might disable notifications. So make sure they're checking. Should be called mobile. And you can see that all my notifications are on. Okay, so I'm all good here. And I think those were all the points of checks. So let's go ahead and try to generate this notification now. I'm going to go into an incident on my instance. Again, I close the tab. Yeah. So we want to open up instance 7001, right? Instance 7001. I'm going to go in here. As an agent, they'll put in a comment. Let's say resolution found, working on it. Okay. And then we'll add this to our work notes. We'll post. And so now post. Oh, posted. Okay. So now the incident has been updated. Now, the other thing to check to make sure that your notification actually worked is to check your logs. So if I look at push and you check your system push notification logs under system logs, you should see a new event pull up. So, it looks like it was successful, 10:29 a.m. PST. So I know that the push actually triggered. Okay. So now I just have to wait for it we'll give it a quick second to pull up. You should see it in your banner. And then you'll also have your history of notifications in this tab here as well. Give it a second. I know that it worked because I see the log for it.
Hey, David, I think one thing you want to check is that dollar incident. I think it's dollar number.
Oh, it's a dollar number.
Yeah, because it has to be a field in the table.
Okay, so let's fix that.
It's in your push message.
Yes, push message. And we called it open instance. Did you say it was dollar number?
Yeah, you should do dollar number, not dollar.
Oh, sorry, dollar number. Yes.
Number, yeah. So you can reference anything, right? So dollar with anything is basically the column field.
Right. So let's update that. And then let's try triggering it again. So we'll go back to that 7001. But the message was messed up, but this should work. If I tap on this, it'll take me to the form screen of my incident, right? And it took me there. Okay. So let's just fix this message here, which we updated to the actual column number, column name. So we want 7001. And then let's add another note. Let's call working on it. Additional comments post. Okay. Again, we'll check the logs for push. Hasn't been triggered yet. I'm looking for 1031. Give it a second. And there it's pending. If we give it another second, it should be successful. The reason why we're seeing two is there's another device that's registered to this push as well. Oh, that didn't work either. That's weird.
Are you on silent on your phone?
Oh yes, that's I had to silent my notifications, so that's probably why.
But you do see the badging. Yeah.
Yes. So if I turn this back from do not disturb to off, I should see the notification. So let's try that again. Oh, but this didn't work either. That's weird. It should have worked. That's interesting. Okay, but we'll just make it a fixed field for now. Your incident has been updated. Okay. So let's do it one more time. Open 7001. And then let's trigger this. Wait. We'll check the logs, the push. Give it a second to trigger. There it is. It's pending. So I should expect to see it in just a second. And it's successful. Okay. Once it's successful, it should trigger in the next like 30 seconds. There it is.
Hey, David.
So there's our notification. And if I tap on it, it will actually take me directly into that form screen, right? So you can see an activity stream and all the notes on it. Perfect.
Hey, David. Our really smart audience has suggested to do dollar and then quote number. The dollar sign has to be outside.
That's what it is. Okay.
So there, yeah.
Great audience. So if we go back to our push message and then look up what we called open instead. Let's make this dynamic instead of fixed. So it's dollar and then the brackets. And if we update this, that should be right? Dollar brackets. Yep. Now let's.
Oh, it's not incident. Do number.
Oh, number. Yes, the actual call name is actually number.
Yep.
And then save. Yep. So now we go into our incident. 7001. Updated. Just to get a comment in there. We'll give it a second to trigger, but we'll check our logs in the meantime. And now it's pending. And there's our notifications, right? And you can see the dynamic. If I tap on it, it'll take me to the form. Perfect. Okay, so that completes our part one of the configuration. Fu, are there any quick questions that we want to cover before we move on to the next?
No, I just want to provide a little bit more detail. You notice how David did the JSON stuff? So David, can you go back to that JSON?
Yeah, so the JSON is going to be found on your push message content, and we called it open incident.
So a couple things here. One is you see on line 9. Okay, so line 9, it says David put the sysid of the form screen. Now, if you're going to do the list screen, it is a different method. So it's going to be deep link generator dot get list screen link. Okay, and then you put the sysid of your list screen. When David says that it's the sysid of the screen, what he meant is the list and form screen. So there's no other screens like a media screen or like any other screens. It's list and form screen. So that's one thing to look out for. Number two is you notice that when David copy and paste this sample code, be very, very careful with line. Okay, so when you copy and paste that code, you notice how line 4, 5, and 6, it is basically saying current.sysid, priority state, and short description, right? At the very end. Now, if you're doing a push notification for a custom app or a custom table that does not have priority state or short description in the field, and you accidentally put it there, it will basically break. So be careful with that. The other way you can do it is just remove. You don't really need 4, 5, 6, line 4, 5, 6, and just remove that layout line 15 to 23. So again, just be careful with when you're copying and pasting these sample codes. Just be careful on the fields if you're using a custom table. So this is something that we've seen with our other customers making these mistakes.
Yep. And this is actually a great transition to the next configuration. So if you actually want to change any of these fields on this notification card, you would actually change it here, right? So let's say if I want to change the priority field to urgency, for example, I think that's what the column name is called. Let's double check just to make sure. Table. If I look up instant, I think there's a table called urgency. Yes, urgency, and then I have to make sure that it's not the it's the actual column label. So urgency. Okay. So we're going to change this field here from priority to urgency. Okay. And to see how it's mapped, this text 1 is top left. This date field is this one here. And then short description is going to be this one down here. And actually might be easier to follow if I show you the screenshot. So if I go back to my PowerPoint, right? So these are the 3 fields. These are the 3 fields that you can configure. If you're questioning, can I configure the entire card and just format it however I like, kind of like a mobile card builder? The answer to that is no. Currently, you are limited to just using this current layout, and you can just change these 3 fields at the moment. And then this is the push message, right? So you can control that. It's all. This date field, when this notification was sent, this is not configurable. This is fixed, and you don't have control over it. But these are all things that's good to know. Fu, was there something that you wanted to say?
No. Maybe you can talk about the UI styles when you get a chance.
Perfect. Okay. So now let's make sure that that field worked. So let's trigger another notification. So all I did was I changed priority to urgency. So you should see this new field update in the top left. So let's trigger this. Let's update first. I think I accidentally changed this get form screen. This looks right? Get form screen. Yeah.
You can always look. Yeah. You can always go back to documentation.
Okay. Let's double check. Get form screen. Is that right?
That's capital F.
Oh, does that matter?
Yeah. It's case sensitive.
Okay. So that's important. Another good call out, right? So let's copy and paste that. So now it should work. Okay. So we'll save. And now let's trigger our incident again. Which is 7001. We'll add a comment and work note. And then we'll go into our logs. We see it's pending, so we should see one in just a second. Successful. Give it a second.
Interesting. Maybe maybe it didn't like urgent. I think this could be a reason why it failed. You're right.
Okay. So let's double check. Opened. I guess it didn't like urgency. So we'll just use
you can use like description instead of short description. Like you can use description.
So let's change this to description instead. But that's interesting that it failed. Okay, so let's update that again.
Yeah, even though the payload is successful, that's why I was saying this is like very sensitive stuff. Like if it doesn't match, then it will just break. You don't know the word. You don't know how to troubleshoot.
Right. So also, we don't have to log out and log back in, right? Because this device has already been registered. Okay.
Correct.
Okay. So let's go back to our instance and try triggering this. We'll add the work note. Check our logs. Oh, and there it is. So we go into it. It'll take us. So it still works, but notice how the description has been changed. Or oh, I think it's too short, and so if there was a longer description, it would have. Oh, there it is. There it is.
Oh, it must have been a delay.
Oh, you know what? The first one actually.
Yeah, it came in. It was a delay.
Oh, it came in. It just came delayed. Okay, there was no reason for that to break. It was just a lagged push notification. But you can see that you can change the fields here.
There it is. Yeah. One thing I want to show, Dave, if you go back to your push content.
Yes.
Go back to JSON. Go back to the JSON stuff. There's a trick if you guys are into like scripting and stuff. So you notice that when David mouse over the mobile deep linking generator, can you mouse over that, David? And then click on it. I think you're able to. Oh, and then I think hit shift and then click. No. Okay, never mind. There's a way you can actually see how it's been implemented. There's like a shortcut. I guess you can't do it here. But you can actually see like what are the methods that's within that object. So, control on Windows. Oh, there it is.
There it is. Oh, it's a command on the.
Okay, that's command. And so if you're curious, you can see if you scroll down, David. I was mentioning there's two methods, right? One method was a line 36. It says get form screen, and there's another one should say get list. So go up a little bit. Right there, line 32. So this is how you how you determine what methods you can call for that deep linking method. Thanks, Larry, for pointing that out, and Gary, and Edward.
Sweet. Okay. So the last thing we want to wrap up with is just how you can apply UI styles to make some of these fields pop up. Let's say that we want this. We currently have the urgency. Now is back to priority. So we want this priority field to pop up. You can actually create a UI style, right? Something that might have been new for possibly instances on Quebec and beyond is, or no, I believe it's Paris and beyond, is anytime you create a UI style, this applies across all tables. So when I create this UI style and I set the condition as any field where the priority is 1, and you apply these styling conditions, this will actually appear on your notification card as well. So let me demonstrate, or let me show you. Let's call this open incident notification. And this is for the table condition, we want this to apply to the incident table where anytime the priority is one of, it could be critical or high. So now when it meets these conditions, we want the priority field. So we'll select priority to highlight, maybe red. Okay, so those are some default background colors and font colors. And then we'll go ahead and submit this. So now anytime that a new notification is triggered, you should actually see a notification card with the priority field highlighted. So let's trigger this one last time. Look at incident. 7001. And we'll trigger that. Okay. So we'll look at our logs to make sure that push was triggered. It's pending, so that's a good sign. And now we just wait for it. Hopefully it doesn't take a couple of minutes. Fu, any questions in the chat while we wait for the push trigger?
No. So another thing to point out is there's no questions right now, but another thing to point out here is you see it says success, right? This means that ServiceNow is sending the payload to Apple. And now it's up to Apple to route that payload to the device. So this at this point, we've just handed over the message to Apple. And at this point, we just have no control on when this message gets pushed down to the device. So even though you see success, it doesn't mean that it might be a little bit of delay. So there it is. So this is Apple sending it down to the device.
And there it is. So you can see that the field's highlighted. Okay. Also, you can see all my notifications on the notification screen as well. So we also talked about, this session won't cover actionable notifications, but if we were to enable actionable notifications, you can actually swipe on this and then be able to, execute any action that you want. So accept or reject an approval, things like that. I think that's also a pretty helpful session, but please let us know in the post-session surveys if that's something you want us to dive into. But that pretty much wraps up everything I wanted to cover today. Any questions from the chat? Any new questions?
No question. This is a great session. Thanks, David.
Perfect. Okay, then I guess we can wrap up. Thank you everyone for joining us in today's session. If you found it helpful, let us know in the post-session survey. There's also going to be a couple questions where it just asks you generically what topics you want us to dive into in the future. So we love getting feedback from all of you just to make sure that our academies are relevant to all of you guys. So let us know in the survey. It only takes just a minute. If you're interested in any of our past mobile app academies, we do record these and then upload them to YouTube. And again, you can find them on our mobile community site, right? It's in our featured content. If you click on this, you can see all of the videos below. But also if you go to YouTube, like Charlie had mentioned, if you just look up Mobile App Academy, you can see that there's a playlist here at the very top under the Now community site. And this consolidates all of the past videos. Okay, with all of that said, thank you all for joining today. And we hope to see you again in 2 weeks. Thanks, everyone.